finish and show them off a little bit, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm quite excited that today we have both me and Daniela doing the assisting, because I can see there is about 80 people joining the competition, so it's a lot of people to follow. So having 2 people to do that it's great.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine trying to juggle watching 80 different things at the same time. I'm barely able to watch 2 things at the same time. Of course, I'm also limited by the number of eyeballs that I have. So there's only so much you could do.
You always do a great job, Jim, with your remarks and your talks. The last time it was very excited to. I was very excited to hear you. Like, I don't know, we were Rika, we were together as well, and like 5 people finishing at the same time. So wow.
Yeah.
It was a tight finish, and it looks like the live stream is up and going. Yeah, it looks like we have a screen there, and it looks like some people are starting to filter in and hop over to that, which is fun. So that'll get going. Well, the thing is, like, whenever it's an exciting puzzle and things are close, it's pretty easy to get excited about it, right? Like, everybody has been getting faster. They've been getting faster across the board. The times are getting tighter. I've talked about this a couple of times where in the upper end of the field, people are. It used to be the case that a minute or 2 didn't really make that much of a difference in placements, right? And now we're seeing the case of even this past weekend at the United States California state event. In one of the divisions, 1 minute separated. I think it was like difference in placements, right? 9 or 10 places, something like that. Like they were all really crammed in there. So over time, more and more as people keep puzzling, those extra couple of seconds start to matter as they add up, which is really cool. Rika, what are you excited to see today?
I mean, it's always exciting to see what the puzzle is. Like, of course, there's always the speculations, but actually seeing what it is always really fun. And then just seeing the different approaches people take. That's the fun part, I think, with the virtual assistant gig, that you get to see how different approaches people take to the puzzle.
Yeah. Oh, Danielle, I know you're saying something, but I can't quite hear it.
No, now I was saying that I agree with Rika. Being a virtual assistant, you have the luxury of see all the different techniques that people are using when puzzling, and then at least I learn a lot from that.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating. And sometimes just the order of putting things in is interesting. I really get a kick out of the way that those things are put in together. Because sometimes, you could go for like a fire truck or a bus, and it's about the same number of pieces in different sides. So doing it in either order is about the same. I'm curious about what people are seeing and how they're approaching it. That really gives some people an edge, which is exciting. And hello, everybody on the YouTube live stream. Purple Puzzler and Catherine Beck is in there. See Jim Sepp, who I kind of want to say is like the probably a better version of this Jim. I think Jim Sepp is a better Jim. Just in general. And Mini Moose, yay! Welcome everybody. We're excited to have you. And I hope everybody that's puzzling today, take a second, stretch your fingers, get that adrenaline ready to roll here, because we're probably past some of the delays here, I think.
All right, so thanks, Jim, Daniela, Rika, for taking care of that. I am back now. We had to close down the streaming software and start everything fresh. So hopefully everyone can hear us on YouTube, and everybody is ready to go. All right, so let's go for the reveal. Let's unwrap the puzzle and see what we have today.
Do the big drum roll. All right, what do we have? What's in the box? It Looks to be a 500 piece. Is that a Eurographics?
Yes. Yes. So,
Sure is.
so please remove the plastic wrapping as well.
Oh, lovely.
And when you have removed the plastic wrapping, please place it back on the table. Then I know that you're ready to go. The time limit is 2 hours, so you can get your message ready, your done message ready in the chat if you haven't already. And we'll be starting in a minute.
Yep. Start revving your engines here.
All right, looks like everyone's ready. All right, so counting down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Good luck, everyone. Happy puzzling.
Let's go. Do the thing. Good.
Yes, Eliza, you have a question? Eliza Franks, you raised your hand. All right. So let's see what we have today.
Yeah.
So this is a puzzle from Eurographics. It's called Totem Dreams. And in some versions it's called Canadian Dreams. So we have a scenery. We have some 5 raccoons here in the foreground. We have some bears in the background, some canoes. And I think I counted them yesterday. I think we have like 12 totem poles.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
A little bit of sky. And they're very detailed. So they're all painted, lots of colors here, a little bit of water in the section here, and some flowers in the bottom left corner. So these are using larger pieces. So just to show you, like, that's how big. So it's about.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty big.
So it's about twice the size of a regular piece. All right,
Yeah.
so let's see how everyone gets on today.
Yeah, in general, larger piece sizes tend to slow the total average of the puzzle down a little bit, just because you can't put quite as many pieces in your hand whenever you want to go and build something. The flip can take a little extra time. So a lot of those little things add up, but also just being able to see things on those larger pieces can be a little awkward because you're used to seeing certain sizes in a space. So if you haven't done a lot of Eurographics or used to these larger piece sizes, it could shake up the standings a little bit. We already have a couple of guesses rolling in here. 38 minutes for first place. Vicky is guessing. We also have some shout outs for Mindang. This puzzle's really interesting on the image itself. There's plenty of traps in here. There's a lot of red that stands out, but there's red in several spots over here. There's a good water streak, but that's also split by a totem pole. Some people might even be tempted to go for some of the large yellow sun streaks throughout the forest, and that's a little split. So this is going to be a really cool puzzle to check to watch how people do, because there's a lot of options in here, and it's deceptively busy.
Yeah, so on the screen right now, we have Anais from France. So I'm going to start at the beginning of the alphabet. Anais from France, Anna from Finland, Annalise from Belgium, Annemie from Switzerland, and Akadius from Poland.
And already off to a really good job here with the flip for a lot of people. You'll see that we're closing in on 3 minutes for the flip, and not everybody's quite done yet, and that's pretty typical for the larger piece sizes. That'll slow you down a few hairs. Akadius going from the box directly into sorting a little bit there, which is a really cool technique to check out.
Yeah, he looks very intentional with the pieces that he's pulling out of the box. But yeah, I get a bit nervous watching Akadius's table/board wobble with every movement.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's gonna be. He might have a tough time on this one. But the other two here, they look like they have lots of room. I really like the wooden table on this, actually, because I think that it'll help distinguish some of the forest scene background. But in general, just a white table to work on or a black table is really going to help you out. The name of this puzzle is either Totem Dreams or Totem Dreams by Eurographics. There's an alternate name for it as well, Michelle.
Canadian Dreams.
Canadian Dreams, that's right. Yeah.
Any Canadians watching tonight? All right, so we have Aurora from Norway, Birgit from Germany, Carolyn from Belgium, Catherine from the USA, and Charlene from Switzerland on screen. So Charlene is doing the pick and place method, very focused. Yeah, so you can see on the left, there's the pieces with the bluish background. There's a little pond. Quite a nice texture to pull out that one. That does stand out.
Yeah, that lake texture is going to look pretty good. And I think a lot of puzzlers are going to start with that sky corner and kind of work their way around a little bit. The interesting thing here is how many people are going to try to do a full border versus trying to do more of specific element building and then sort of sunbursting away from those spots. This border might be pretty straightforward because on the sides there's limited duplication or variation. There's only a couple of regions that look like they would be really tricky. So just grouping those edges and then building them out whenever you have a free moment is probably a pretty good call here. Yeah, you can see a couple of people working on that top left corner where that sky is. It looks like Aurora is doing a little bit of an extra sort and is going for that red canoe, which is a pretty big chunk. And if she can see the outlines there, that's going to be really good to use. Charlene doing that pick and place, trying to do perfect placement. And this is a thing where early on you can be a little bit slower as you're learning the image, but you can gain speed on the later half once it's once you have the image in your head. It's pretty easy to start nailing the pieces down where they're supposed to go.
So we have Chiara from Italy, Christina from Denmark, Kieran from Ireland. I'm probably saying that wrong. Is it Karen? Claire from the UK, Danique from the Netherlands, and Edith from USA.
Always want to give a shout out to the USA players. Good luck for you. I know it's midday. And evening puzzling isn't easy either, because sometimes it can be a little dark in your house or in your space, and that's always tough.
Well, that's the advantage that the Americans have now, is we're all in darkness, and Edith has a lovely sunlight view coming through. Now, the timer that Edith has, I bought one of these because I saw several people had these specific timers, and so I did actually buy one of these timers because I noticed that it looks good when on video. The timers that I have right now, it only shows the numbers on the screen if it's at a certain angle, and that kind of bothered me. So from future time lapses or live streams, when I'm participating myself, I'm going to be using my fancy timer, and her one is changing colors.
Yeah, and we're closing in on we're coming up on 8 minutes here. Usually you would see some of the speedier puzzlers have their full edge complete or a couple of major targets built out, but because these pieces are a little larger, the flip takes longer, the initial build and pulls take a little longer, so you're probably going to see that completed closer to the 9 or 10 minute mark, I think, if people go full edge.
Yeah, so you can see Danique is going for the reds, and there's the red canoe. There's also at the top of one of the totem poles, one of the figures has like a big red circle around the face, which also stands out. So you can see that red, the face with the red circle around it. And there's also another totem pole with like a white, some 3 white squares with red borders, which also stands out. So I personally also was attracted to the reds. It's one of my favorite colors. I'm wearing my red today.
Well, and it's a great color. The trick is to making sure that you try to specify which reds you're going for, because it's really easy to go, great, I'll grab all the reds, and then you end up with an extra 80 pieces that you then have to resort anyway. So being able to really zoom in and specify can go a long way here. Sometimes we call it feature plus one, where you go, okay, I'm going to do the red plus some other feature, try to pull that out and build it right away.
Maite van der Velde, your screen is off. Please check your camera.
Yeah. You can see Kiara's doing a great job here, getting a lot of that top sky leveled out and built. Probably a huge chunk of that, and also building out the water line in there as well, which is going to be a really good anchor point and can then sandwich between those two, that top and middle a little bit, and really get a good push.
Fleur Looning, your camera is off. Would you please check that? Or are you using a second device? I only see one. Okay, now it's working. Thank you. All right, so we have Elisa from Belgium, Ellen from the Netherlands, Amelia, and her red panda, Prim, yes, Prim. Yeah. Fleur from the Netherlands, and Franco from Argentina.
And Amelia's doing a really good job here. She has the full edge complete, and it looks like she's also building a little bit of that water line, and has pulled a lot of the red in as well to start building out on that. And one of the things you'll see Amelia do quite a lot of is she is similar to Alejandro and several of the other lightning bug kind of puzzlers, where their fingers move very rapidly and sort of make micro adjustments to the pieces as they move around. And you'll see that she builds a thing and then tries to move it where it's going to go. It's really, really cool technique, but she has that full edge complete. So that's about 86 pieces, probably with that little bit of water. With that little bit of water in there, probably close to 100 down. So she's a fifth of the way through already.
Yes, SJ asked how many outside of Europe are participating. So today from the USA we have 4 participants, and we have 5 from the UK, although I still kind of consider them part of Europe.
This is going to be really exciting here. Is after the first easy pulls are built, what is going to be the next layer of decision making that people are going to make in order to keep moving through this puzzle? Yeah, you can see Amelia starting to do a little bit of that red canoe, and has also built the red and white totem as well. And a little bit of uncertainty as to where some of those other pieces go, but that's going to clear up over time as she keeps pushing forward here.
Richard James Fletcher, could you please angle your camera down to your puzzle, please? All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Daniela, for the tips. Okay, so we have Freya from Denmark, Graham from the UK, Hannah from the UK, and Inka from Finland. Oh, I like what Inka has done. There's a nice blue red canoe attached to the blue water, and it's probably the biggest section we've seen so far.
Oh yeah, it's done a really good job of building that whole chunk. And you'll notice that the Inka hasn't done a full border build, but is really just picking out regions that jump out to the eye and building off of that. And it looks like I think that's Graham or Gordon has the full edge completed, and is also beginning to work in on that water zone as well, which is really, really well done. Inga doing a great job here, has that top sky built, and also a little bit of that top totem as well with that red eye. That's going to help clear out some of the uncertainty with the other reds as they go through.
Yeah, so I did this puzzle last night and I really enjoyed it, I have to say. The quality is really nice. The pieces feel really nice and thick. They have a unique piece count. I didn't have any misfits, and yeah, a good shape of knobs and also piece shape, so also with 3 holes and the likes. Yeah, I found this easier than Misfit toys. So probably many of you, when you realized that it was a larger piece count, or when you matched up the boxes, you saw it was a Eurographics, you might have been having bad memories or of Misfit toys, which did really mix things up quite a bit. But this one I found easier than that one. Then I see everyone's making great progress, so we'll see some faster times for sure.
Really, really well. Yeah, please, people, if you have guesses in the YouTube world how much time you think this will take, by all means, throw them out there, because it's pretty exciting. Yeah, Misfit Toys gave a lot of people some trouble, and that's okay, because there's always going to be a puzzle that some people are weaker on and some people are stronger on, just by the way that it looks and feels, which is really cool. But it looks like Inga doing a really good job and is kind of working her way typewriter down, which is excellent there. Yeah, we don't speak of Misfit Toys in this house, SJ. Yeah, understandable. If you have a bad interaction, you tend to tend to ignore it.
However, I have to say, Misfit Toys is one of the most purchased puzzles on my shop. So I've had to reorder it like 3 times. So there's something about Misfit Toys. People who didn't do it part of the competition, they're very curious and they want to know, and they something is a bit compelling about that puzzle. All right, so on the screen we have, going to leave Inga up there a bit longer. We have Janie from the UK, Jenny from Finland, Jens Asker. Who's Jens Asker? Did you register? Jens Asker, please, when you're finished, please write your name in the chat, and also do a registration. Sounds like, I would guess, Danish or Dutch. Then we have Kai from Germany and Karel from the Netherlands. Oh, Karel's, wow. 2 big sections there.
Yeah, doing a really fantastic job. Has that whole sky top region built out a little bit into that first totem. It's a pretty big chunk of the puzzle. You'll notice that they're also, again, one of the folks not doing a full edge build, because they can see those pieces. They don't have to do an extra sort with the edge pieces. In a similar way, I think it's Jens. Really, really solid job there. Has almost the whole canoe and that top quarter of the puzzle knocked out like a typewriter. Really, really, really cool to see how they've gone about it. A lot of people will shy away from forest or trees, but if you're able to distinguish colors or textures pretty well, you can just throw those in pretty rapidly without too much of a worry, if it's a small enough chunk of it, because that's probably only about 6 or 8 pieces in some cases. So you can get those together and build them really, really quickly. And that's what Jens looks like they've done.
So Jens is actually Iris Bakker from Denmark. Iris.
Okay. Gotcha. Always fun trying to catch the names up. Kari has most of that canoe and also a little bit of the bottom edge, and it looks like they're starting to zoom in on one of the winged winged eagle totems that has a pretty unique red and blue patterning to it, and that's going to be pretty easy to pick out in the pile and then build rather rapidly. So that's a really good choice to pull at this stage. Because like I said, after you get through some of the easy marks, you got to start going, okay, what's the next easiest thing that I can build on? And we're coming in on on about 19 minutes here. So I think that if people have seen this before, we might have times that are in the lower 40s. So I'm gonna guesstimate around 43 for this one, and I hope that I'm terribly wrong and somebody blasts through this. Yeah. So Michelle has a zoom up of the puzzle again. There we go. Yeah,
So-
and you can see that getting those wings together really quickly is doing the trick.
All right, so I'm gonna leave Karel on the screen a bit longer. Then we have Karin from Austria, Kath from the UK, Kati from Germany, Kirsten from Germany, and Kirsty from Finland.
Yeah, that top left corner is a really good favorite start. It's some of the clearest and most standoutish colors of that sky blue and building down. And you see a lot of people doing that. It looks like Koth building out from the canoe and into the water a little bit, which is really neat. Has pretty big area. It looks like they're also I'm always curious about how people use their table set. So are they putting most of their pieces on the left or on the right, or are they doing a rainbow? And you can see that some people, like I think it's Christy there, who's in the bottom right at the moment, has almost all their pieces in the upper left corner, which is pretty unique. And then pulling down from there, which if you're able to see it and get them, that's where you want them to be. Some people have the pieces like right close to the border that they've built, like Kristen there, and she's moving very rapidly. Looking around, yeah, getting that water above the canoe seems to be working pretty well for a lot of people. Anytime you can see a texture and a color that sticks out well, you can do that. And yeah, it looks like some of the wings on that blue-green totem are coming together for people, and that's sticking out really well. I'm curious if, who's going to be the first couple of people to go for that pure brown or bronze totem that's in the middle back, because I think that'll be a pretty good island to break up some of the forest on that side. But the lower left still has those pretty blue flowers that people could go for. If it's a little dark, they might be hard to see right now. Someone cheering for Steffi.
So the dimensions of this puzzle are officially 48 times 68 centimeters.
Woo.
So a typical 1,000 piece puzzle is 50 times 70.
Yeah, so this is a little bigger than even that, which is pretty phenomenal. And seeing how people are handling it is really great. Getting used to that different spacing is huge. You'll see a lot of people are kind of standing up and almost running from one side of the table to the other, like you would in a 1,000 piece. Rather than just being able to sit in one spot and reach everything, you really have to be pretty mobile here if you want to be in the upper echelon of finishers. We can see Lenka doing a really good job here. Has the whole border, that top left built, also going for that red and green eagle totem. Has the lower left hand mostly built as well. It looks like the canoe in the water and some of those blue flowers as well. And I think she's taking a pretty unique tactic of building in some of that lower grass that has these dandelion dots in them as well, which is going to be really handy, because that gives you a nice anchor around for some of the other totems. and it looks like a couple of spots for that raccoon family. And if you're somebody who's really good at handling fur or some of that color gradient texture, those raccoons are going to fly in once you get all those pieces. But I think finding them in that pile is going to be the hardest part.
So we have on the screen, we have Kira from the Netherlands, Laura from Hungary, Leah from Denmark, Alenka from Slovakia, Lynn from Germany, and Lisa from Sweden.
Yeah, and everybody's getting on really, really well here. I like Laura's table set. You can see that she has that top left corner built like a lot of the other puzzlers, but she has her pieces so close to the puzzle that she's going to be able to grab them and get them in pretty quickly once she decides what she's going to aim for. And I think whenever you have something so big, being able to have easy reach or mobility to get them is really going to save you some time down the line. Because if you think an extra half a second for every piece that you put in, that's 250 seconds. That ends up being close to close to an extra 4 minutes worth of time. Just doing that running around. So the more you can limit that, the better you're going to be. Looking really, really good here. Lynn, building islands all over the place. Looks like doing a lot of texture and pattern finding inside of their piles. And it looks like they have 3 different piles going, one to the left, one above, and one to the right. If you've sorted ahead, that can sometimes make life easier for you, which is, there's always a trade-off of every strategy. And they seem to be having a pretty easy time finding those patterns and putting them together, which is really cool.
So I'm going to leave Lenka on the screen a bit longer. We have Lynn from Belgium, Maya. We have 2 Mayas from Finland, Maya Puto and Maya Ilamaki. And we have 2 Maitas from the Netherlands, Maita Peters and Maita van der Velde. And yesterday I sent a package to Maita. She was one of the winners from the 1,500 follower giveaway on Instagram, and she won the 1,500 piece puzzle of Rome from Pieces and Peace.
Oh, congratulations. That's really well done.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for participating. We had over 300 comments, and yeah, in another few weeks or months we'll do another giveaway. You can also tell me what you'd like to win.
Yeah, Catherine Beck pointing out a lot of great progress here. More and more people having a whole edge. That upper left is pretty consistent for a lot of people. In the Doppelganger series here of Maya and Maita, we have some people knocking out the canoe in that water region, and more people are starting to build out the wings. I think that's Lenka has a good chunk of that. Yeah, the real trick here is being able to focus in on what you want to work on at any given point, because some of this is so busy, it's real easy to get lost in the sauce, especially once you start getting over to the right-hand side that has a lot more of that forest background. You might be able to use some of the color and texture there to your advantage. I kind of wonder if anybody is going to try to really do that ground sort of outline before jumping further up into the trees, because that grass is relatively rare compared to some of the trees, and getting a little too specific for the totems. But everybody's doing really, really well here.
So on screen we have Mandy from the Netherlands, Mari from your living room, Jim. And yes, so in the other room of Jim's house, Mari is flying through the puzzle. We have Maria from Slovakia, Maria TB from Sweden, and Box Assistant enjoying the box. Marie from Norway, and Min from the USA.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Mari's my partner, and we live together. And she's doing a fantastic job. I'm sure she's ignoring me on the commentary right now, or has me on lower volume. But I'm rooting for you. I root for everybody equally, but sometimes a little more of an edge. But you can see that Mari has the full edge completed. She's done that lower grass region, and has also built the canoe, that upper left as well, and has that red and green wing set in. It looks like she also went for that bronze totem. I was wondering if that was going to be the case. And is hopping around a little bit now. Mindang has done a wonderful job here, has probably the most solidly built right hand section. Like, that whole quarter is just built outright. Very, very well done into that canoe region. And Maria's doing a wonderful job as well, and is sort of doing this typewriter left to right, getting that upper quadrant rocked away. And you can see some
what
people
do you
have.
mean by typewriter?
Oh, like really go like whenever she's trying to find a piece, you can see she's either going left to right or up and down, trying to find where that piece goes exactly. And so I kind of think of that as a typewriter kind of motion, because you're going zzz, chink, zzz, ping, figuring out exactly where it's going to end up.
Oh, you mean like when you've got like pieces of all the same color and you just need to fit them into place, and so you're kind of going along and checking it, and then it fits, then you grab the next one and then like move along.
Yep.
In that.
Yeah, exactly. And that could save you a little bit of time. And yes, that does show my age that I know what a typewriter is. At some point, we'll have a conversation with the youngins about what a floppy disk is. I also the box helper, very important for puzzling. If you don't have a box helper, I always encourage people to get one. If a live one doesn't work, a stuffed homemade will do. But always gives a little bit of help. And Maria there is doing some pick and place, and is made a couple of small, like 3 to 4 piece islands across their build, which will hopefully give them an anchor to really build in from there. Somebody asked how Amelia's doing. Just as an update, if she's not on screen, she has the lower quarter of the canoe knocked away, a lot of the middle. She might be in the lead right now, I think.
I do have a tip from Rika that at least in the top half, so from A to L, names starting with A to L, Amelia seems to be in the lead. Mm-hmm. We are only at N, so I'm going to keep going. We're at 31 minutes, so yeah, still a little ways yet before anybody finishes. But yeah, Daniela says that there's another 4 that are very similar. So let's keep on moving. We've got Mona from Germany, Mooney from Germany, Nadine from Germany, Nicole from Bulgaria, and Nina from Denmark. And I'll put Richard on there as well. Richard from Belgium.
And doing a really solid job here. I think I can't quite read the name in the upper right there.
Nadine Wonder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can see how many people are starting to really zero in on those red and green wings for that eagle, and sort of building around from that a little bit. The other thing that's going to be interesting is this kind of purple totem that's to the right of that. How many people start being able to see that color distinguished as they build through, because there's a lot of green in there, but if you've knocked out the blue sky and the lower blue flowers, you can be able to see it pretty easily. Looks like, in the middle there, has the right hand side very well built, and this is where we'll start to see some slowdown because we're crossing the 30-minute mark. Fatigue starts setting in. You start running out of good options to build, and you're kind of left with the, okay, how do I approach this? So being able to zoom in on certain targets is really going to help out here.
So we have Sana from Finland, Saka from Czech Republic, Simon from Germany, Simona from Germany, Smaranda from Romania, and Stephanie K from Germany.
All right. And the German contingent seems to be doing very well here. A lot of full border builds. That upper left for everybody, we're just going to assume is mostly built in some ways. I know that I can see that Simone there, I think, went for the lower left and getting the canoe and some of that ground built, which is really, really great. Because then you can sort of work your way up and not worry about knocking pieces off because they're all together. I think in the middle top there, it's really interesting. You can see all the pieces built in, but they also have a little bit of border built around. So they're kind of building out of that chaos bit by bit. And I think there is some perfect placement of pieces going on there. So this might be one of those cases where things look a little messy and then all of a sudden it comes together at once, which is really neat. And then in the lower right there, somebody using three puzzle boards. Is there a fourth one? No. Okay, there's only 3 under there. And moving them around and very rapid hand movement, and might be able to catch up here if they did a good sort early on. And there's a shout out for Miranda. Her and her partner were very nice to share a table with. And that's wonderful. A lot of people in the puzzle community are genuinely just wonderful people to be around.
Okay, I'm just going to jump to Victor, Teresa, and Amelia. So it looks like Amelia has about 40 pieces left. Victor, well, yeah, a bigger gap and then a few little gaps, whereas Victor has about the similar amount of pieces. I can't see everything on his table, but we see very clearly where the gaps are. So it might be between Victor and Amelia. Not far behind is Teresa. Okay.
Yeah, I really like Victor's setup here, because the way that the gaps in his puzzle are, he's going to be able to use the shape of the missing piece to find what he's looking for and drop it in. If you have big gaps in there, that can be a little tough. But I think Amelia is pretty well ahead at this point, smashing a piece in there very rapidly. I'm trying to pull up Teresa here so that way I can see in real time here. Whoop. But yeah, Victor going to town. Amelia coming into just the right-hand side where there's some of that forest is left, and that's always a tricky spot for everybody where you have so much of the same type of piece all in one spot. But I think Amelia is ahead here. Victor pretty rapidly trying to get some of those spots in. He may have a little bit too much left in order to catch up here. You can see him zipping around little by little, left to right. Yeah, only a couple handfuls left. They may be about even. Amelia starting to pull ahead. They have similar spots left. I think Amelia has a few. Has just a couple handfuls fewer. You can see she's taking a step to the left, taking a step to the right, really moving back and forth in order to try to get those pieces in and stay ahead. Another smackdown of the pieces, really making sure that they stay in place and doesn't move the puzzle around too terribly much. You can see that her board is pretty stable. Victor's starting to go one piece at a time as opposed to getting a handful and trying to drop them in rapidly. So I think the advantage of having the lines of gaps maybe losing for him. Amelia is starting to pull ahead here by just a little bit. Mari falling behind started to use a tiny board to put pieces in, but I think Amelia is going to be able to walk away with this. Another smackdown on the pieces. You can see that she moves over, she grabs a piece with her right hand, and as she's doing that, she started searching with her left hand where some of the holes go, and then using that to really make sure that the piece goes in. That way, there's no uncertainty as you come into the close. I think there's only 5 or 6 pieces left. She's going to be able to get those in pretty handedly here and might be able to finish this up under 40 minutes. Coming in, only a couple pieces left. 1, 2, and drops the last couple in. Searching around. You could see that she loaded her hand up so that way she could just Pez dispenser the pieces and put them right into place without having to do an extra hunt. Whereas that was phenomenal. Yeah, shake the hands out. You did a great job. Prim rooting you on the entire time.
Congratulations, Amelia. So Victor, just a handful of pieces away. Sorry, at least on my end it froze. We just missed the final pieces of Amelia. I don't know if it was just me or if somebody else had that freeze at the end as well. But a marvelous effort by Amelia.
Very, very well done. And Victor is going to try to finish here in a solid second. We'll see if he can keep it down under 42 minutes. I think he's going to be able to if he gets a handful and drops them in pretty quickly. Teresa doing a great job. Has gaps all around the board, and you can see she gets a handful and then drops them in pretty rapidly in order to get those in pretty quickly. Mindang doing a really fantastic job here, trying to finish up that canoe region, and then only has the forest and grass left. Mari in a similar position, trying to figure out the best way to address that forest. But I think Victor's going to be able to slide into second here. Only a couple of pieces left, one at a time. There's another one. There's one. He's going to be able to catch up and get them in there. But looks like there's a couple of missing pieces. They might be slightly off screen. One left. Get it in. There you go. Twist it.
Oh, well done, Victor. Yeah, he often has like pieces on top of the puzzle.
Yeah, and some people have hard rules against putting pieces on top of the puzzle, which is fair enough. Somebody asked earlier, Eurographic puzzles common in the U.S. They end up over here, but I don't think they're quite as ubiquitous as some of the other brands. But congratulations to Victor and Amelia. Very, very, very well done on this. And the fight for third place rages on here. We can see Teresa has most of the left-hand side built out and only has the right-hand side left. It's really handy that she has the pieces over on the right because they're going to be closer right to where she needs to be able to get them in order to wrap this up. Who else do we have on screen at the moment? Jin doing a great job. And Tobias, always, I always get a kick out of watching him because he is so deliberate with how he drops the pieces in. Just very, very strong. Lenka doing a wonderful job as well. Might be a little bit behind some of the other leaders. Again, we get into that foresty region and stuff starts to slow down. Teresa might have this third place slot on lock, as she only has that little bit of forest region in that lower right to go. That tree line is very samey right in there, and there's not a lot of color gradient that you can get around building. So being able to get everything else completed first goes a long way. It looks like Kiara and Mari might have hit a little bit of a wall here trying to go into the final stretch. And it looks like Lenka is picking up a little bit of speed in filling in some of those in-between areas. Veronica doing a fantastic job here. Has a bit of a split pile. We'll see if that affects things going into the final stretch. I always get nervous about a pile split because then you have to look to the left and to the right whenever you're going to try to put pieces in. Teresa doing a handful of pieces, sticking them in one by one. You'll notice she gets a couple of handfuls, and then she uses her left hand to just spit the piece over to her right, and then pops it in place where it's supposed to go. Really, really fast close that Teresa has here. Inga doing a really good job. Looks like she has a couple of handfuls left, and they're pretty sporadic. She's in a really good position here because there's not a huge gap, so she'll be able to use the shape of the piece in order to get those in really quickly. So she might be able, if she can put the thrusters on, she might be able to catch up here a little bit and get into fourth. Teresa coming into the final stretch, and she gets the third place locked in. Congratulations, Teresa. Very, very well done. Yeah, you can take a nap, take a breather after all that. That was an awful lot. You did great. Congratulations. So we're still hunting for fourth place here now, and we're coming up on the 45-minute mark, little by little. Inga has a couple of handfuls left. And I think Lenka is right there with her. This could be a piece per piece, a piece per piece showdown here between the two of them. Trying to adjust my screen a little bit so that way I can see everybody and try to make calls in real time here. There's Lenka. Great. Okay. Yeah, Inga has a couple of handfuls left. Lenka is in that same lower right-hand quadrant, trying to fill them out. She has a couple of gaps here and there. It looks like she might have done a little bit of a shape sort and has a line of pieces. Inga accelerating into the back half, but Lenka might have too much of an edge. It's really going to come down to if she's going to be able to have any trouble here on that black background scene where the holes are. But I don't think she does, and Lenka's going to slide right into fourth place here. And congratulations to Lenka as she finishes with Inga not too far behind. Oh, looking for a missed piece. Had a couple of missing pieces, and she gets them in, still handedly in fourth place. Inga finishing up right behind her here. Gets those couple of pieces in. Very, very well done. Congratulations, Lenka and Inga. You guys were wonderful. And this is not an easy puzzle to do by any stretch, especially if you've not done a lot of Eurographics. This can really be tricky across the board. We can see here Tobias coming into the final stretch as well. Has maybe about 15-20 pieces left, and Mari trying to make up as much time as she can. You can see she's using that board in the middle to try to reach pieces outside of that, to use that as a staging area and then drop the pieces where they're supposed to go. May have eaten a little bit of time there, putting the pieces on the board and then going out. We'll see what happens. Tobias down to only a handful left. He may have the edge here and will pull into a solid fifth place. We'll see if he does. And yes, Tobias edges out and comes in fifth place, I believe. Congratulations. That was very, very well done. I always get a kick out of watching him puzzle. And now we're coming in with Mari trying to finish up those last couple of regions of forest. They're really, really tough to see. You can see that she's rotating the pieces in her hand, trying to use her left hand like a board now and move them to where they need to go. Oh, sixth place. Sorry, I lose track of my my timing a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, so Tobias is in sixth place there, and we're coming up on where the seventh place is going to be. I think Mari may be able to lock up seventh place here. Moving rather rapidly. You can see a lot of the puzzlers are starting to feel that slowdown because we're coming up on on 49 minutes almost, and fatigue sets in. It's hard to stay super focused for 35, 40 minutes at a stretch on one thing as you go. Coming into the last couple of pieces here, and Mari Black hits the done and comes in a solid 7th place. Congratulations. Very, very, very well done.
Yeah, so just to recap, well done to our top 7 so far. We did start late, so I can't say the exact time, but now it's 49 minutes. First was Amelia, second Victor, third Teresa, fourth Lenka, fifth Inga, 6th Tobias, and 7th Mari.
Congratulations. It's really, really, really well done. And this is not an easy puzzle to do at all. And you can see we're probably going to have a wave of finishes here. Veronica, and I think that's I'm not sure who this other person is in the lower right, but they are going to go neck and neck here, coming into the last couple of handfuls of pieces. Those black tables always make it tricky to see where you have a hole in your puzzle, especially in dark forest areas. But if you're keeping track of them, you're going to be able to spot them as you go. Veronica trying to get those last couple of pieces in, really, really aggressively attacking those the couple of handfuls that are left. You can see her sort of hunched over the table, trying to look dead on to what the puzzle looks like, and getting those last couple of handfuls in. Kiara doing a fantastic job, did a big sweep there to get the pieces closer to that right-hand side where she needs to get those in. And it looks like Anime getting a lot of that grass left. A lot of the easy parts are done. Veronica looks like they've finished, and so is Danique. Very well done. Congratulations.
And again, sisters are in the top 10. So we have Lenka and Veronica are sisters from Slovakia, and both in the top 10 tonight. Congratulations. So we have Veronica and Lenka. We also have Alan, Inga, and Mandy. So
that's really, really, really wonderful. And
we should
Kiara's
have
like
a sibling competition. Who was the best speed puzzling family in Europe?
Oh no!
We can have Tobias and
start
Sarah.
building teams based off of that. Yeah. It looks like Kiara's going to finish up here very soon as well. There it is. Congratulations, Kiara. Rounding out our top 10. And that was that was just shy of 52 minutes. So this is a tougher puzzle on average for a lot of people if you've not done a lot of Eurographics. So very, very well done. I think Mindang is coming into the final final, maybe about 30 or 40 pieces here. Couple comments, people saying shout outs for Amelia doing very well. Congrats to Teresa. Teresa already hopped off, but we'll make sure to let her know. Purple Puzzler says that her husband calls himself the Puzzband. I really like Puzzband. Jignificant Other is one that I get a kick out of. I also enjoy Side Piece, but I'm told that has alternate connotations. So be cautious with that one, but I enjoy it. I should know that one, Daniel. You get all the names mixed up whenever I'm looking at the screen. But coming into the 53-minute mark here, or I guess 53:30, and people are still pushing rather rapidly. You can see that the slowdown has really hit going into those forest and that grass area, trying to get this one finished up here. Sometimes it can just be a goal of, I need to get this done, especially once you've been in it for a while. And those bigger pieces can throw you off because you're used to looking at what the edges of the pieces are to see where they line up. But when a piece is so big and you're not used to the scale of it, sometimes it can make it feel like, oh, the edge of this piece should go here, but really you're seeing the middle of what that image is, and it doesn't quite fit on the piece the way that you're comfortable with. So, so being able to adjust your scale when you're not familiar with the piece size, it goes a long, long, long way. Mindang coming into the finish here. Jenna as well. Maybe about 50 pieces out. And it looks like Ellen also doing a really, really good job here. Has all the pieces on the right-hand side, so they're pretty easy to reach. Min reaching over the top of the puzzle, trying to get to the pieces and drop them in. Ellen may have a little bit of an advantage here, getting those pieces in because they're right next to where she's building and doesn't have to fight gravity as much or fight over to reach things. She may have a little bit of an edge here. Trying to zoom in. Yep, Ellen's going to be able to pull this out, even though she's a few pieces behind going into the close. She gets the gas ahead to wrap that up and comes in 11th place. Congratulations, that was fantastic. Very, very, very well done. So we have our top 11 all coming in just our 11th place, just over 55 minutes, I think. We'll double check that. And I'm trying to zoom in. It looks like Kay Kirthy might be wrapping up as well. Yeah, this forest area is always going to be tricky. No matter Kathy, there we go. Kathy got it in 12th. I was trying to read it on the screen. I'm very sorry. Yeah, the last little bits of forest are really, really tricky, and especially so on large piece size where it's a little wonky. Couple people mentioning that the connection's a little wonky. Yeah, we're sorry about that. There's been a couple of weird things going on, and we know that the connection's having a couple of jumps. So apologies for that. But Mindang seems to be finishing up very strongly here and is done right there and gets a solid 13th place. Congratulations, Min. That was very, very well done, especially after your great showing at the California State this past weekend. Very, very, very well done. All right. And it looks like Jens, or I guess the puzzler formerly known as Jens, that have an alternate name that I didn't write down earlier. Coming into the end, you can see that they're reaching over top to the top of the puzzle to try to put pieces in, gets a couple of handfuls, and then drops and then uses that to drop them in. Really, if you have all the pieces above your puzzle and you're trying to reach over top, it's going to slow you down a little bit unless you're in the early stages and you have that full adrenaline speed going. But they're going to be able to get it, and Pseudo Jens gets the next slot. Congratulations, very, very well done. Just under the 58-minute mark on that. Congratulations. Yeah, and you'll notice that a lot of people, this forest area, it's always difficult to try to figure out which way things are going to go. Sometimes you can see on the pieces which way that the leaves are sort of leaning based on where they're at. Like towards the top of the trees, a lot of those leaves angle downwards slightly, or you could even use the rather than using the greens, you could use the darks, the black areas on the pieces to try to determine where things go. Because sometimes looking at the negative of what you're hunting for can help you get those pieces in. But we're rounding out the next round of things. I think I can't quite read the name. Mona gets in under the radar. Congratulations, Mona. Slips in a great slot. And we have another couple of finishers here. We're going to see a great wave of folks coming in just under the hour mark. And if you get and really finishing something like this is always tough. Whenever there's a lot of forest area inside of here. Yeah, we can see some patchwork going on. A lot of people have gotten most of the left-hand side of this puzzle built in a way. Now, a lot of the totems themselves are in, so all that remains is that foresty, leafy area to try to finish it up. There we go. Yeah, and we can see people trying to figure out what's the best place to put those pieces when you're building in towards the middle. Is it on your left? Is it on your right? Some people are making a big swipe to try to get those into the spots, so that way they can see where everything is going. And anime finishes. Congratulations. We know that was close coming into the next round. Very, very well done.
Yeah, so we just gone 1 hour and we've had 16 finishes. So I think we can bring in our first place winner for tonight, and that would be Amelia. So just make
Congratulations.
Thank you. Sorry, I just had to put something in the oven, but here I am.
No, you did it. You did a great job there. What did you think of it?
Well, I'm generally not a fan of like big pieces, but I've been practicing basically just last couple of weeks with big piece puzzles, so that obviously helped a lot. And it was a little bit more my style of puzzle with like a lot of details, but like also like not too much all over the place. For example, the red big boat was kind of like in one place, so it was easy if you just collected all those pieces.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things that I always worry about is over pulling and getting too much of one color at any point in time, because that can sort of trap you into having to do a whole bunch of retouches or getting lost in the sauce a little bit. When you I know that you often try to predict what the puzzles are ahead of time. Was this on your prediction list?
Actually, yes, it was. But I have to say, I've been lately very, very incorrect with a lot of my predictions. I even got one friend incorrectly. So that's the first one. But yeah, this was something I had predicted and kind of also looked at. Not sure if it really helps with this puzzle though, but still.
No, that's really well done. What sort of things did you do to handle having the larger pieces? You say that you've been practicing that the last couple of weeks. I know not everybody works with big puzzle pieces a whole lot, because it's not usually the like speed puzzle or fair as common. So what sort of things did you do to help with that?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, there's a lot of things. The reason why I've been practicing with those big pieces, because we had one of these my speed up program sessions related to big pieces. So I've been like experimenting with those. I really like what you said earlier about the scale. So if you're kind of like expecting that the scale is completely off, so something that looks very large in one piece is actually something pretty small in the reference image. That can, really help. Also, I think in general with the larger pieces, because they're also a bit heavier, so you can be actually a little bit more aggressive. If you go with, for example, regular Ravensburger pieces, you go a little bit too fast. They start jumping around and kind of like flip upside down by accident. but that rarely happens with big pieces. So that's obviously another thing. But there's a lot of things about the big pieces as well. Of course, it depends also on the brand. With this brand there, I knew that there is no kind of like false fits or anything like that. So you can really just, go for it. I don't know if it shows, but I was a little bit aggressive. So even if I bang the puzzle piece, if it doesn't go, it doesn't go.
Yeah, we could see the aggression just fine. Yeah, I always get a kick out of whenever you give the pieces an extra good smack to keep them in place. It's pretty fun. And I know that sometimes when people are doing that, it's because they're not certain if it goes in, and they're like, I need this to fit, and it's sort of an awkward try to force. But it looks like you're doing it to really make sure that it's staying right in the spot where it's going to.
Yeah, and also kind of like I said, because I know there's no false fit, so I kind of do that. I kind of had an idea where it might go, and I'm kind of like putting it already there and already moving to look for the next thing. So I'm kind of like doing this while I'm already looking for something else. So I don't, obviously it's just a little bit optimizing, but of course if you do it throughout the puzzle, it will save seconds here and there.
Yeah, no, I tell people a lot, like a second here or there adds up over the course of 500 pieces, right?
Exactly.
Like that goes a long way. Every one of those little adjustments. One of the things that people often struggle with are those like dark foresty tree kind of things. What goes through your mind whenever you see that on a puzzle? Like, not how you solve it, but just like, oh no, this puzzle came out and has a lot of forest and trees on it. What kind of goes through your head whenever you see that?
Well, obviously I don't think anybody likes that, especially here with the trees and stuff. But I have this kind of like default idea in my head that no matter what puzzle do I get, it's the best puzzle ever. And I have trained that so badly that whatever puzzle comes is the best puzzle ever. I change my mind only afterwards. When the puzzle is finished, I can say that it's complete. Well, we're on YouTube Live, so I'm not gonna say the word. But I'm actually really, really good at it. So I can actually ignore everything. But I remember if we go like a year back, I would, first of all, I would panic. I would be like, oh my God, I can't do this. Because the reality is that, for example, with those 3 pieces, I'm like, I don't know what am I doing. I'm just trying something. Like you cannot like see any difference in them. It's like a full panic mode if you let it. But
yeah, oftentimes the most useful thing you can do, even if you're not sure, is to just stay calm and focus on solutions, right? It's real easy to get into the spiral of, oh no, I don't, sort of like what you were saying of, oh no, this is all the same. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And it's okay. Well, shift the what do I do to I'm going to do this, and that can help really shift things a little bit.
yeah, I learned my lesson because sometimes I used to do like puzzles that I thought are really hard. And you can see how that even just the thought of it affects a little bit your emotional side, and it will affect your performance. And even if you halfway of the puzzle realize that this is actually not that bad, you kind of already lost that time. So if you just go into it that worst case, this is hard in the end, but what if I'm wrong? And this is actually the best puzzle ever and the world record coming in. If you just go with that, even if it's hard in the end, it will affect your performance positively.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense on that. One of the things that I'm curious about, and is that I know that you've said in the past that knowing what the puzzle is or studying it doesn't always help you perform better. But if we look at the worlds in the preliminary rounds where they used previously used puzzles, on average, those were way faster than the other rounds by leaps and bounds. So to me, that indicates that knowing the puzzle ahead kind of does give you an edge. Is that am I off base in that, or what am I missing?
Well, I think for the worlds, obviously, it's also the fact that people have done those puzzles, not just that they have seen them, but that they have actually done them. I had my own prediction list for the worlds. I got 7 out of 10 correctly. And obviously, I had shared those predictions with a lot of people that I coach. So those people have, for example, practiced those. And so obviously, it will affect on the average. Also, when there is those people who thought that maybe they will use these new catalog puzzles. That's my take in it. But yeah, of course, it can help. It depends a lot in the puzzle. I feel like it's kind of like a trap. It's a total win or lose situation if you analyze a puzzle picture before too much, because sometimes it looks a bit different depending how the pieces are cut. So for example, if you do a bookshelf and there's a line and you think like, okay, I'm going to start with those because the line is going to be in the middle of the pieces. And then it's actually kind of like 2-row situation. So then if you have kind of like made your mind too much based on what you're analyzing of the puzzle image, you can go completely wrong and completely thrown off when you actually start the puzzle.
Would you rather be in a competition where everybody, the entire field, knows what the puzzle is, even if they haven't done it, or in one where nobody knows what the image is at all?
Nobody knows. Unpublished, complete surprises. I'm a huge advocate of that. Obviously, in the competition that we like Euro Jigsaw Jam, you cannot even expect it because we're like, commercial parties are throwing up this or private people doing this competition, so you cannot expect it here. But obviously, for the bigger competitions, I wish that would be the situation and the future, of course.
I have a rebuttal to that. So I've been thinking about this. If we think about other sports, like people who do a lot of sports, they'll play at different arenas, or there's something about a hometown advantage, or if you're going to do a race, on a certain track, definitely having raced the track beforehand will give you an advantage rather than racing it for the first time. So I kind of feel like that's almost like the advantage of being an experienced person. If you do a lot of puzzles, the chances that a puzzle comes up that you've done will get higher. And so I kind of I don't know, I'm kind of in two minds about it, because I'm kind of like, well, of course, for me as an organizer, I'm trying to find rare puzzles and make it as unpublished as possible. But I feel like people who just like, there are some people who we just see on Instagram just posting so many puzzles, and I think, well, good on them, and they're going to have a better, more likelihood that they know a puzzle, which is then to their advantage. What do you think about that?
Well, obviously, it is an advantage if you have done the puzzle before. So we have, for example, first of all, the people who have done puzzles for many years. Then people, for example, me, who has kind of like a resources, time and money to do a lot of puzzles. Obviously, I don't have kids or anything. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm also very flexible. And also, we need to consider that, for example, when we compete with Ravensburger or let's say brands that are maybe more in the Western world, we seem to ignore in this conversation a lot of like Africa and Asia and even South America, where it's actually really hard to even get maybe the brands and the puzzles that are used in a competitions, as well, of course, all the other factors that come from there.
Yeah, it's real tricky. I know that just practicing in general, you get better at whatever you do. Like the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. How often are you just practicing a puzzle for practice sake versus doing a puzzle just for fun or in between? Like what is your like personal puzzle practice schedule look like?
Well, now I'm on an off season, so I try to just enjoy, like I'm having this annoying only white piece borders puzzle situation going on here. But when I'm not in the off season, obviously I do a lot of smaller practices with smaller puzzles, not just, you know, puzzle after puzzle after puzzle, but actually different kind of like skill practices. But yeah, I could say that I kind of puzzle every day when I'm really getting into it. And even before the Worlds, like the last couple of weeks, I could do like 5 puzzles a day. I was trying to push it to the limit just to, well, because I stand, just purely for that, to see how many puzzles I can do standing in one day without dying. But yeah, and I do have like a weekly practice plan, and then like a kind of like a monthly goals where I check in, and then I change my practice plan based on what were my goals, and if I got the impact I wished for with the practices that I planned, and then I modify and going on.
No, it makes total sense. You had mentioned like prepping for this one a little bit by doing a couple of the Eurographics. Did you like do a Eurographic every day leading up to today, or were you doing like 3 Eurographics all in one shot? Like what was like what is the diet of somebody who wins an EJJ look like puzzle wise?
Well, I actually haven't done, I don't actually even own that many Eurographics, but I've been, I said, I just been done in general those big piece puzzles because I was doing the coaching session about it. So I wanted to have it like, you know, fresh in my mind. But yeah, obviously if I would like kind of like go in full force, for example, for the Euro Jigsaw Jam, of course I would kind of like, if I would have prediction, let's say I'd make a prediction and I actually have that puzzle in my collection. Of course I would do it if I'm like a very competitive person. I like, there's nothing kind of like, I can admit that. If I have a prediction, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but most likely, yeah, I would be doing that puzzle that I think it might be, or a lot of that brand if I have a lot of puzzles from them, or similar puzzles if I have some kind of idea of the image, or in this case, I knew that, you know, it's going to be big pieces.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I know some people, if they know what the brand is coming up, they'll try to do a puzzle like that morning of a similar brand or shape to try to like just get their fingers feeling ready for it, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, and I just sent a picture today to my pair for the pairs competition on Saturday. I had a box of brand I think it is, and you know, in comparison to the mystery box. So she said she will be also doing that brand just in case we are correct. So.
Fair enough. So now to make this to ask a very serious question here, and I'm sorry if this is uncomfortable. Is it more difficult to puzzle if Prim Prim is watching you versus looking away from you?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Because I know everybody has like their puzzle box buddy or like their own sort of puzzle critter on the table. Some people like having them watch. Some people feel very judged by the critter watching. So, which way do you prefer having Prim Prim face while you're puzzling?
Prim Prim is usually facing to me, but when there is, you know, live stream or something, I put it to entertain the viewers. So
fair enough. Well, your puzzling itself is very entertaining, and the outreach you do is really, really, really cool. And how you're bringing more people into the puzzling fold is fantastic, right? Like the more speed puzzlers that are in it, the more the whole field gets to grow and learn, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I also, one thing I want to really, really remind for people who are not like one of those super fast yet, you also need to remember that when we get more people into speed puzzling, then it may look like sometimes you're not developing. For example, if you go and compare your times in myspeedpuzzling.com and only look at, for example, your placement, but the more people have here, obviously that mixes up. When my first competition in 2024, when I say I won, people are like, oh, congratulations. When I tell them that, yeah, but also my time was 1 hour and 6 minutes for a very easy puzzle, I'll tell you that. and then they're like, oh. I mean, it's the same performance, but in that case, even though there was a lot of participants, I was the best. But now, like hour and sex and winning just doesn't go into the same sentence. You just have to remember that always kind of like try to look just your performance, and sometimes especially when you analyze it to get better, try to ignore the outside noise, because you know what, 5 years ago you may have been the best in the world with that time. Now you're somewhere like as 150. So, but it's still the same performance. So you should really just focus on that instead of being always like, but this person is still faster than me.
Yeah. No, it's always I tell people it's always a game of you versus the clock, right? Like everything else takes care of itself. And even thinking back, like a few years ago, having a time that was like close to 40 minutes, that would usually like win you every other competition, right? But now that time is down closer to like 35, 36, right? So it's a thing of you have to focus on what you're doing well and keep, optimizing that little by little, which is really great. And I think you encourage a lot of people to try to get better, which is wonderful. Yeah. But any other any other words of wisdom for the adoring masses that you have?
Oh, boys, I'm not very good at words of wisdom, especially summarizing stuff. I could
Maybe words of confusion.
Oh, well, that I have. I could talk for 2 hours, so you should just kick me out very soon until we're gonna be. But one thing I could say, if you're not having nationals coming up, you don't have big competitions coming, and you're one of those competitive speed bustlers, this is a perfect time to have a little bit of off season. So just don't lose the fun of doing speed bustling. You cannot do it year after year all the time. Even though it's fun to compete, you do have to remember just do puzzles for fun. Stop timing yourself at least once a year. Have that a little bit of break, and then come back with a new energy and kind of like always remember why you started doing puzzles.
Absolutely. No, that's really wonderful, Amelia. Thank you for that. That's really encouraging. And congratulations on a huge win. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Do you know my time though?
I think it was around 38 minutes.
Right.
Is that right, Michelle?
Here it says 40. Here it says 47 minutes, but I don't know at what time we started. We were like 5 minutes
we started
late,
a little late.
so maybe around 40ish.
Well, we'll get the results later.
Yeah.
We'll zoom in on it. But
all right,
you did a very, very great job. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks very much, Amelia. Wonderful job. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh man.
All right, so we've had about 40 finishes at 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Congratulations to all the finishers.
Yeah, all the finishers are just rolling in. So just trying to keep up with getting everyone on screen, as many as we can.
Yeah. The fact that we're having so many finishers in this same time frame is really phenomenal. Well, in the same time frame as some of the other EJJs that weren't Eurographics is really, really cool, and it just kind of shows you that people showing up and getting better little by little, even if it's a brand or a puzzle type that they're not as used to or as comfortable with, they're still able to do very, very well and across the board, which is phenomenal.
And the screen. All right, so time to bring in Victor if you are still there.
Hi, yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Victor.
Hi.
How are you doing, good sir?
Oh, I think I'm doing great. I am prepping for the Slovenian Championships.
So no pressure.
No pressure. I will be leaving in 2 days.
Oh, you're leaving in 2 days for it?
Yeah.
Well, may the sum of the forces be with you whenever you head out. Are you excited or nervous, or how are you feeling?
I think I'm mostly excited. I don't really feel nervous, and I also, when I was going to Worlds, I didn't feel nervous going there, but I was feeling really serious and nervous being there. Especially trying to sleep. It wasn't really possible. I don't know how it will be in Slovenia, but hopefully not that bad. I think I'll be so exhausted after the journey because I'm taking a bus and not a plane. So it will take like 12 hours. But yeah, I think
Maybe
I'm
you
not
can
that
try to
bad.
like store up as much sleep as you can on the way.
The issue is I don't really am able to sleep while traveling, but I will try. I mean, I'm leaving at like 8 p.m. and arriving there at 9 a.m. So maybe I will sleep. I hope so.
That's gonna be tough. Do you have how do you? For me, sleep falls under the like physical category of taking care of yourself when going into competition. How do you how do you plan on doing that a little bit, or trying to going into a big event?
For this one, I will be there on Friday, and the competition starts on Saturday. Sorry. So there is some buffer that I can use. But no, actually, I think I will try to sleep. I mean, I always try, but this time I'll like take some pillows and maybe some pills. I don't know. I need something because it will be a tragedy again.
Maybe just take a shot of puzzle dust, right? Like just save a whole bunch of it up, and then see if that helps you get some rest.
Well, I mean, my puzzle, they are all used, so they most of the time lost all of the puzzle dust anyway. If you do something like 6 times, it's gone.
Well, let's talk about a real tangible thing here. What did you think of today's puzzle?
At start, I was thinking that this kind of puzzle that would take at least 50 minutes, and it looked even worse than the one we already had at NDJs. And I had that one, not because I participated, but I wanted to try it, and it was so awful. Because I don't know, I think Eurographics has to think this through, because I understand wanting to have big pieces, but at least don't have blurry images. Like I don't really like Eurographics because of that. The previous one was really, really blurry. You couldn't see anything. This one is better, but still, like half of the puzzle is really, you don't really can tell what goes where. I'm trying to take up some.
Well, and even with that, even with it being blurry, and even with it being a puzzle size that's not really your jam, you still did really, really well. So how do you see through the blurriness and still blaze such a great time?
So with this one, there's a lot of details, so that helped. But also, compared to the other puzzle, this one at least has something that you can recognize and at least approximately place where you think it goes. And also you can kind of do some kind of sorting. That's what I did at the start. I just had 3 piles, the edges, everything blue, and very big pieces with the pieces with big red sections. Because if there were small red sections, it wasn't for the boat or for the sign at the top corner. And I also separated the raccoons. So like this is and the sky. So you can have some kind of sorting at least to like start with something, and with the other one you don't really can. You have the edges, and then you have like this yellow blob. Do I have this puzzle? Yeah, you have the edges, and you
Yeah,
have that, and that's all.
yeah,
So
and
this one was easier.
it's very much a thing where like figuring out what islands you can build as anchor points goes a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, but with the details, it was really easy for me because even with like the big
Yeah.
eagle, it was really okay to do. I could find the pieces. It was hard. Don't take me wrong, it was hard to do, but much easier than all other things in this puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you did you start to see like color specifics inside of any of the totems, or I know that you closed in the forest area because it's the most samey color and texture, kind of thing. What were you noticing going into that?
So I noticed pretty early on that this totem, wait, never mind, the second from right.
Yeah.
It's purple. So if I have any piece that has like this different strange, I don't know, color
That sort
to
of
it.
shade of it. Yeah.
Yeah, shade. Yeah, because even if it's not purple, the shade is different from everything else. So I knew that if I see a piece that belongs to this, I can just put it aside and just collect them and wait until they're like most of them. The next thing was I honestly didn't see in this puzzle that you have this.
Yeah.
And when I did, I just took them and like put them together in 3 seconds and was like, oh, this is helping a lot because I have something to start from. And also, the one thing that I think that brought me so much time was doing grass. Because in this puzzle, you can really easily see what is grass and what isn't. And the grass really is easy to do. And you have only one branch on top of which sits a squirrel. And you have those, it's not dandelions, but like the early stage of dandelions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the regular grass and the grass like in the middle, it really helped because you have three boats, and the one in the middle, I didn't even see this boat. It was invisible to me all the way through. And when I did the grass around it, I was like, oh, there is a boat! Wow! And suddenly, like the pieces that I couldn't figure out to which totem they go, it was like, oh, this is this boat. Yeah, and the totems, they were really similar, but I was trying somehow to like do the backgrounds rather than the totems anyway. Because for the most tall ones in here on the left, you cannot really distinguish them if you have these large pieces. It's like there's something on it and it's light. So you cannot. I think I did it by shape at least, and by the background, and not by the totems. And on the bottom, I was just like, I don't know what it is. Just try it everywhere.
And just sort of were like, panic. Where does it go?
No, not panic. I didn't panic this time. I almost always panic, but this time I was like, it's not here. Let's go there. Like, I was just done.
No, that's really, really cool. One of the things we was talking about with Amelia was how do you stay calm and collected and focused without going into a panic, an unhelpful panic?
I think for different people, staying focused mean different things. Because and also it can change. At least for me, it changed because all the time I was doing speed puzzling like before Worlds, my brain was working in such a way that the focus and the more effort I put into speed puzzling, I was just going more frantically, and I was trying to do everything as fast as I can. And right now, if I am in this mode again, I just stop. I'm like, don't do this. And I just maybe not brief because I don't take a break from like puzzling, but it's like I reset my brain a little and I'm like, okay, if you cannot do this as fast as you can, just go to the next area. Or if you don't have a next area, just take every piece that you have left and just look at them, look at the holes in the puzzle, and it's like you will find one eventually. And if you find one, it will go much faster. And usually it does, not always, but it's like there is no point in beating yourself down with like, I am not doing it as fast as I could, or if I were doing it the second time, I would do it much faster, which I did today. And it's like, don't mention that. Yeah, talking to yourself also helps. Maybe not like talking verbally, but like in your head, to be like, okay, I know that there is this boat and I know what the pieces are. I know how to sort them. I can do this, but if I cannot put them together, just leave it, let it be, go away and do something else. And I think this is the whole puzzle that I did this way, honestly, because everything was kind of difficult. And I was like doing this boat and this big totem, and the totem is the right word because I don't know. Totem, yeah, sorry, I see on the box.
Yeah.
Because it's the same in Polish, and I was like, wait, I feel there can be something wrong. Yeah, when you look at the picture, I was like, yeah, what's like talking to me, and it was the grass. I was like, yeah, the grass is very nice, and it's like a break from everything else you do, because you don't have to look at the trees, you don't have to look at the totems, you just do the grass, and it's all right.
Yeah. I was wondering about that as people were going, was if somebody was going to sort of take the grass less traveled and do that grass part early, because it stands out. But things look a little different on the piece cuts than what you see on the image. So sometimes it's hard to say what's gonna show up where.
Yeah.
I found the grass easier than the pine trees. So I tackled the grass earlier on because I'd already done the boats, the big totem pole, the tree branch, and the raccoon family. And then it was just filling in those little gaps around it. Some of the grass has yellow flowers on it. So I also looked specifically for yellow flowers and pulled those.
Yeah, that's what I did. Maybe I didn't like sort the different things on the grass, but I just took them all, and I knew looking at this that this maybe I wouldn't really try to do this single branch that is going from the corner, because most of the edge of the bottom in the right side there is this branch, and I can just like, if I have everything, I just do the grass and then from that do the branch, because if something is that irregular, I wouldn't want to start with that. But then again, one last thing that I do recently and it really helped with this puzzle, is to, if you don't feel progressing and if you want to like do something else, but the only things that you just left are like the easiest ones, just take something that I call dirty pieces, because most of the time, the things that you are left with are the things that has like the least color, the least texture. And it's like, how many times did it happen to some of us that we are puzzling and we are left with something that is like muddy, dirty, but it's like 10 pieces only. So I was like, maybe if I sometimes try to look for those.
Look for the inverse, right? Like maybe zoom in on the dark things rather than the bright things. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really helped, because there were some areas that when I pick the pieces that are dark, or I don't really recognize what's on them, but I know approximately where they should go, it opened up next section, the easiest section, and it's like caused the waterfall with waterfall effect. So it was really nice to have, and to. Yeah, I'm really proud of myself for that decision. yeah, I wasn't expecting to have a time like this puzzle. As I said, I was thinking about 50 or more. And this really surprised me because the trees were looking horrible, but fortunately there were like 10 pieces of the trees. So
yeah, it's not as much as it looks like, but it is a pretty intimidating amount. Have you done a lot of Eurographics or like this puzzle before?
I have never done this puzzle before, and I only did the one from IJJs. Okay. These are the only puzzles from Eurographics that I have, and I tried. I did the previous one yesterday to like
just get used to it again. Yeah.
Maybe not to get used to, because once I do a puzzle, I'm pretty much used to it. But it's like I have this new table. Maybe not at the tabletop. I bought a new tabletop to be able to do today's AJJ and not have the same situation as with the Ibu puzzle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I know I have a bigger space, so now I have to like learn to use this space and to not get caught in like a right corner, which I tend to do, surprisingly, because I have it for like 2 days, and for the 2 days I was doing puzzles on this table, I always find myself being like right here. And it's like, why are you doing this? Go to the middle.
Yep.
So
I've seen that kind of happen where you just drift into zones that kind of lock you in place.
Yeah. And that's what happened at Worlds in my individual round. We had this vertical puzzle, the anime one, and I was puzzling on the very edge. It almost fell over.
It was great. We had somebody curious. What do you know? What brand of puzzle they're planning on using in the Slovenian Championship?
Ravensburgers.
Lovely. So you're like geared for that from Worlds and everything else.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see if the puzzle that will appear in the competition, because there are 3 rounds, there's individual, pairs, and teams. If in pairs and individuals, if I will get a puzzle that I already have, because the chance is very high. So we'll see. It would be nice to get something that I don't know and that I don't have. But as I say, the towers of Ravensburgers are towering.
Is it tall enough to like cast a shadow? Like, do we have to worry about you in case of an earthquake? That the tower of Ravensburgers will fall over and we need to like dig you out?
Yeah, you can start worrying.
Okay, all right. I'll make sure to put you on the emergency contact list in case I hear of any major shaking.
It's changed a lot since the last time we were talking. I think it was with Daniela. I don't know, when I was showing the puzzle towers, and right now it's at the point that I have to stand on a chair to get to the top.
Is there a point where you will say, I have too many puzzles?
I don't think so, because I can also have another tower. But I think I would say that with puzzles that are not meant for speed puzzling, because I see those puzzles as a tool for practice. So this is kind of weird sport, because in different sport, if you just buy a very expensive equipment, you're basically set. But with puzzles, if you want to do different puzzles pretty frequently, you either swap them or sell them or collect them. And I am this kind of person that, first of all, is a collector, because I collect Legos. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is, I'm very lazy. So I don't have like any motivation to sell those puzzles. So let's say it was in June or early July when I did my second AJJ, and it was the Pokemon puzzle.
Yeah.
So I still have it here And I didn't sell it despite having 2 copies. The same with the Mandalorian one. I'm like, someday someone will just buy them from me.
Well, maybe you can bring them to Slovenia and do a puzzle swap.
That's what I do. That's how I get rid of them.
So somebody's asking, what other goodies do you have for your speed puzzling hobby, like lamps, microphones, cardboards? Like, do you have any like some people have special like box top holders? Do you have a stuffed critter that you have around now?
What is the last thing?
Like a stuffed animal or something along those lines. A lot of people have those.
I don't have that one. I'm pretty good at talking to myself. I didn't think anything else. Yeah. So it was like 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and it was the same day that when Michelle brought up the topic of the large pieces. I was in the middle of going to buy the tabletop, and also in the same shop I bought a new light, because I don't know, but like I think currently in this room, because of the new light bulb, it looks as if in Poland there's a day, not night. So the light is really good. The tabletop is really large. I bought too big of a one, so this is kind of an issue. I also bought the phone stand to be able to make video, maybe not the videos, but to record myself. I also made the YouTube channel. Yeah, it was also like 3 days ago.
Yeah. By the way, congrats on the 22-minute blitz of a puzzle that you did. That was phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I did this puzzle like I think 10 or 12 times in my life right now, but yeah, it is really fast. I was surprised myself.
Yeah, after watching that, I was inspired to give it another go. So I did my 4th attempt of London. But yeah, now that I've seen you do it in real time in 22 minutes, it's like I almost want to like put your live stream up, your video up, and I'll try and keep pace with you and try and do what you're doing. But yeah, no, I think it's really great. Yeah, so for those who don't know, Victor has started a YouTube channel called Victor D Puzzler.
Yeah, the same as the
Yes,
Instagram.
same as the Instagram, and he's just published his first video, so real time 22 minutes of London postcards. So everybody should check that out if you want a few tips how to do that faster and see how he assembles it.
And the second one is also up.
Okay, what's that?
It's the Alejandro puzzle.
Okay.
Oh, fun.
Nice.
We'll have to check that out shortly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Victor. Yeah, congratulations on 2nd place today. You have quite a habit.
Thank you.
Have you ever not placed on the podium?
Yeah, 2 times at least.
Oh, really? I feel like every time you've been in the top 3.
No, the one was with this.
Okay. The camping
and
caravanning.
Yeah.
I don't want to like look for excuses, but it was the day that I slept 2 hours, and I was dead.
All right. Well,
But,
that's the pathway to win to anybody who wants to win in Slovenia. Keep Victor up as long as possible. Don't let him sleep.
Oh no! We have some really good participants as well. We have at least the one that I am aware of, and I'm teaming up with them for teams. It's Tyra from Sweden. Mm-hmm. We had the same time in the individual semifinal in Worlds, and also she was like top 30. So in the finals, so like I am afraid.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really fun. And
yeah, so that's this weekend. That means we can, the results will be out on Saturday evening. So yes. Yeah, well, good luck, Victor. And we look forward to seeing the results, and we'll see you again at the next EJJ when you're on there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Victor.
Bye.
Bye. So we've had a lot more finishes, and I just want to point out that Kirsty Kojo has finished. She's one of our regulars, and she's often very close towards the end, but this time this might be her best result so far. So well done, Kirsty. All right, so the third place was Teresa, but she did tell us in advance that she was not feeling well tonight. She did want to do the competition, but she wasn't feeling up to an interview. She has a bad cough. So we do have time for a little bit more of a chat, and we wanted to bring in Rika, who has been doing the analysis of the country rule. And so we just wanted to, so for those who don't know of the analysis that you did on Instagram, would you like to give us, first of all, an overview, and then we'll dive in with a few more questions.
Basically it started like last spring, or actually summer, I think. It was actually you two talking during one of the EJJ live streams about the country rule, about is it good, is it bad, what the effects are. And I was like, well, I would actually want to know, like, how does it affect the results? So I went and looked into the results from last year and did an analysis, and like looking like how many people, like, of course we know there's like about half of the people, a little bit depending on the round, get the country spots, but not everybody is like benefiting because they're at the top, for example. So I wanted to see how many people actually get through just because they were the fastest from their country versus being just fast in general. And that was the first thing I did, and quite a lot of people found it really interesting, and also like Karen Puzzles, who shared that then when she had the video before Worlds. And now after the Worlds, where I also went, when I got home from there, I did like this whole new analysis of the new results, looking into the same things, and then also did some extra things because I'm that kind of nerd who, when she goes in deep. So I went to looking also, like, people were asking me like, can I tell if Europeans have benefit because of, in the first round there's the published puzzles, like, and they get to practice more. Is there, like, can I see like that they benefited from that? Or, and then I want to like a little bit look, because there was so much discussion, is the country rule good or bad? Like, well, if there is a country rule, could there be other variations to what the rule could be? And looked into those.
I think one of the things that I found interesting, and I guess I was whenever we initially had the talk this past summer about it, like looking at the country rule the way it was, it made sense, and it only affected like a relatively small percentage of things in the 2023 Worlds. And one of my concerns was that I don't think that the percentages were adjusted in a way that for the Worlds 2024 that it was higher chance that you would have a much larger number of people affected by the country rule, either being bumped out or bumped in, or having like really weird edge cases of like somebody towards the that didn't finish or was like near the very, very end getting into the round. So was there a big discrepancy between 2023 and 2024 in terms of how the country rule affected people getting bumped up or bumped out?
Yeah, I think it had smaller effect last year in 23. Like, even if you just look at that like individual first round, like there's a bit more people getting in, but it wasn't like that huge of a difference. But then we went to if you look at the individual semifinals, and I know a lot of people were quite upset also by Dolly because of the results, because there actually was quite a lot of people who got through just because of the country rule. And I think when I've looked into the results, my thinking is that one of the reasons is that, like, because it's about like in the individual and pairs, it's always like 50% is being the fastest of the country and 50 just based on time. And in the semifinals, and also same in the pairs first round, that the effect wasn't quite as strong there because there's 90 people or pairs who get through. There's 45 countries that basically get also through. So, and especially because in the individual semifinals, everybody finished. So there was this caveat that if you don't finish the puzzle, you cannot benefit from this, but everybody finished. So it didn't affect like that part of the rules. But I think the 45 is quite a lot. So that was the reason why so many people got in, just like what I call in my analysis like true benefiters, like who only got because of the country rule in.
No, it makes it makes sense that whenever it's a wider it's such a wide margin for countries, more people get in. And I think the vast majority of people can agree that representation is important, and you want to have as many people from as many different places competing as possible. So I don't think anybody would disagree with having a country rule in some capacity in some of the levels somewhere to make sure that you're having people from the less represented countries have a shot, right? But the question sort of becomes how much of that is, you're saying that 45 out of 90, that's 50%. Out of the top 45, how many unique countries were there? Do you know that off the top of your head? I know I'm asking you details about this a while back.
No, I don't remember that detail.
Okay. And that's all right. We for those of you following along, Rika, I think you should put your Instagram into the chat or something, so that way people can check all those details out. And,
I'm sure there's someone who already knows that who can put it there.
Yeah. But it's a really cool thing. And as we get more countries coming in, and as the level of puzzling rises, would you expect more people to get to have a true advantage for the country rule as time goes on, going forward, if it's kind of kept the way that it is?
Yeah, I guess the big question is is it kept the way it is. Like I think it has a place at the moment because the sport is quite new. There isn't like a national, like there's nationals, but not in that many countries yet, and there's like this robust circuit of competitions where you could like qualify otherwise to the competition. So it makes sense that because everybody can sign up, then you have like some kind of way to promote countries that may not have as good access to the puzzles, don't get as many people to the competition, so on. But I think it could be written the rule better. And I had ran some like variations in my original analysis, and I've actually done like talked with people and done a couple others also, and planning to do a little like post like an extra thing sometime in the near future, hopefully, when I have the time to put it in writing also. But yeah, I think there is a need for that. And I think actually it should be rewritten to be a different one, because I think there's two big flaws a little bit with the current rule. There is the fact that it's really hard to people to tell straight away if they made it or not, except if you're at the top or in the bottom. But even then, actually, this year you could get in from quite low because of how the semifinals went. But like you would need to change. I think it should be changed so that it's really clear for most of people to tell if they got in or not. And there's ways to write that. And also, I think might be good to have like, in a way, a different way, fixed number of people who get qualified through the country rule. Like now, it's technically there's the 50%, so 30 or 45, but I think it might be makes more sense that you reserve certain number of spots at the bottom, like only this many get through with time. There's no country, doesn't matter where, and then there's the portion that gets the countries that haven't gotten in gets in.
Yeah, that's one of the ideas that I've been floating around in my mind is, would it be better to sort of flip the order and say that the first 45 or so, no matter what, are meriting in, and then after that you start applying a country rule. Which isn't that much of a shift, but I think it would tighten. I think it might tighten things down and put a little less uncertainty on a larger portion of the field. I could be totally wrong though.
Actually, the variation that that wasn't one of the original ones that I posted about, which I'm planning to put in the next patch. The one that I like most is, which I call 10% rule. So you reserve last 10% of the spots for countries that are not yet represented above that. And when I ran that number, like for example, in the individual first round, the results are actually really similar to the real results. But in, for example, the semifinals, it would fix some of the issues that we saw this year. Like something like that. It would promote representation, but it would not. It would be much more predictable. Also, just like how it feels is different if you say it's 10% versus 50%, basically. So that's also one thing that I think should be taken into consideration, that it feels fair. And I had like a poll on Instagram also just like last week, I think, where I just asked like, which percentage feels most correct? Like, is it 5, 10, 15, 20, and most said 10. So it feels to be about the right proportion. If it would be around 10% people benefiting from the country rule.
Yeah, and I don't think there will ever be a perfect perfect value in there, right? Because there's always going to be fringe cases, the standard deviations, and you're never going to get it spot on. So it kind of becomes a thing of what do you optimally want to see at Worlds? Yeah, and it's perfectly valid to say, hey, we want more countries participating, and if they're the fastest or not, that's not as important as just having people there, which is perfectly valid, right? Puzzling is a community. We're all rooting for each other and we want each other to be around.
And I think it is also like a phase in the sport. We will get to a phase where if there's some kind of country rule, it's applied before the Worlds. But I think Michelle wants to say something.
Sorry, it's 2 hours. I was so engrossed. 2 hours, stop. I was so engrossed in the conversation, and then I saw a message from Richard saying time's up. I'm like, oh yeah. So well done, everyone. That was a tricky puzzle. So yeah, those who are still have pieces left: Maya, Christina, Anais, Franco, Kai, and Richard. Please just count up the leftover pieces and then write that in the chat. So yeah.
And congratulations to y'all for doing a really, really great job. This is not an easy puzzle.
Yeah, we've had puzzles where sometimes people have just disappeared, they gave up, so you stuck through it to the end. So yeah, always a good one for effort. So while they're counting their pieces, sorry to interrupt you, Rico, you can continue.
I don't know if there was something else you want to talk about, Jim.
Well, I guess one of the things that's curious was there any particular rounds or categories that stuck out as being the most affected by the country rule?
By far, the individual semifinals. It was by far most affected this year.
Do you know about how much that was?
I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I think it was like close. Like if you take both semifinals, I think it was close to 40 people who got through with the country rule or something like that. Yeah, it was quite big number. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, that's like not predictable because that was the number of participants was the same. The number of countries represented was really close last year, and it was very different results. So it wasn't not easy to predict in a way.
Yeah. Well, and you know, with everybody getting faster all the time, it's going to be harder to start specifying cutoffs of where things are going to be at, because there are going to be, you know, people that are unknown from from countries that aren't really on the like worlds or Instagram radar that do fairly well, but maybe not spectacularly.
Yeah.
And if somebody has a bad day, they kind of they get bumped out, and somebody else gets bumped in. So it's a really complicated thing. And I'm not, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I keep oscillating between, you know, should there be more countries overall, or to tighten it down further and make it just straight by the time. And I end up being a little mixed both ways. One of the easier solutions would just be have an even longer like festival extravaganza of rounds where you could have almost an infinite number of rounds.
Yeah, but that's also not feasible for people.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
there's limitations on existence and all that.
But also because I looked at the Europeans have a benefit in the first round, and they did. Like the numbers just show that Europeans did better in first round versus semifinal. Like positions dropped quite significantly for some. So
and it makes
even that
sense
like
that
even
they would primarily because of the puzzles in the first round were from the European catalog, right? And
being published. For example, I had done most of the puzzles that were used in the first round because I'm from Finland. I had access to those. But like even that speaks forward, like towards that there should be some kind of like balancing act done. But then maybe you don't need it in the semifinals, maybe just in the first round. And that would be an interesting way to simplify it, especially since in those later rounds the margin of error gets tighter and tighter. You know, and having somebody jump, or maybe even putting. You were saying something about a 10% clause. I wonder if putting a within 10% of the like last finisher would be reasonable. But that's also really like that's why I don't like that is because it's hard for people to understand if they got in or not. Just then you have to calculate. So that's why I kind of like the 10, and I think it accomplishes pretty similar results anyway. Yeah, some people say, and if there were a bigger venue, then more people could be in the rounds. Yeah, you would have more people in the rounds, but then you still run into the how many people do you take, right? Like just because you can double the number, like say the say the semis goes from you know, having 180 in it to having 300 in it, you still run into the same thing of, okay, but how do you filter that to get to the finals? Yeah, you still have only the 300 spots in the semifinal also. So it's like 3 groups that have to filter to that, then it's like percentage-wise it's still the same number of people. So yeah. But it's a tricky question.
I think a percentage is probably the fairest way to do it because you will always have different numbers in the round. Sometimes it'll be 180, maybe others 200. Or if you had like 8 rounds, maybe you would have 150. So always kind of adjusting your number. But if you go on a percentage, then
actually I was thinking like percentage of like the qualifiers. For example, the 60 qualifier round, like the individual first round, then it would be 10% of that 60, so 6 people would benefit from the country rule, and so on. 90 qualifiers, then it's nine people that get through with country rule. And that would be, that's a really intriguing idea there. The natural
the natural response to that might be, okay, but does that get enough unique countries in to be reasonable? Right.
No,
Like,
it actually get quite good number. I will post about this when I get around. So if someone is interested,
I'm so glad you said that.
they can follow me on Instagram. And I'll put it in my
I know I've
stories
looked at
and
it and
then
thought the same
put
thing.
it to the highlights. So yeah.
And it's always hard to like future proof it.
Yeah.
But that's really cool that you've done that analysis. Have you reached out to or gotten in contact with anybody at Worlds or?
Not yet. I have been planning to send them all the things that I've written and also the background material, the spreadsheet from I don't know where that has all the data, because it's quite a huge thing nowadays. But yeah, I have been planning to send that, and like, yeah, maybe when I get the last bit done, then I hopefully have like don't want to return to it in a month. So.
No, it's really cool, and I know a lot of people put a lot of practice time and effort, and if you're traveling to Worlds, like it can sometimes feel really great to be that person that gets one step further in, either because of your country or any other reason. But in a similar way, it can also feel really disheartening to be on the bubble and bumped out because of the country rule in a similar way. And so it's really hard to balance all of those competing things. I think the 10% one's a really interesting look, because pretty quickly if you're going to be in striking distance of the pack versus if you're gonna be fighting for that for the bubble.
Yeah.
So some people were asking about possible changes to the missing piece rule. There's a lot of interesting things about missing pieces that are tricky. One that came up kind of recently is what happens if there's too many pieces, right? Like, what if there's an error in your favor that's not really in your favor? Should it be the case that you get 10 seconds back for an additional piece that you didn't place, that might have distracted you as you're going through stuff? I'm not entirely sure. Riku, how do you feel about that?
I don't know. It's outside my expertise, let's say this way. Like, I can look at the numbers, but like missing pieces are like, it's a different component, and it's harder to. There's not that much stats about that. Let's say this way.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think they really keep track of missing pieces or that thing inside of the notes somewhere.
Well,
I know the. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, when I was judging all the missing pieces that we found after the competition, they went to the front desk where they were putting in the times, and there was quite a collection. So after like 6 rounds of individuals, there's about 40 extra pieces on the at the collection, and some were missing pieces that just fell on the floor, and others were extra pieces where there was like 3 or 4 extra pieces. They had completed their puzzle and they were left over. So yeah, there are these manufacturing errors that do come in, but I don't think people should be penalized for it. I think like we've decided we're not going to do it for our EJJ competitions. We're not going to do a 10-second penalty if there's a missing piece, because you waste time anyway searching for that piece or trying to put the wrong piece in that hole.
Lost my train of thought, but like let's continue somewhere else. I had an idea about this, but then it went away.
Yeah, and Freya makes a good point. It's really hard to figure out if a penalty makes sense whenever you've already lost time trying to search for a piece that's not there, and how to define if it's truly a manufacturing error or if it's puzzler error, right? Like, how many times have we pulled for like a roof of a building and been like, I do not have all the pieces. There is something inherently wrong. Oh, right, there it is. Right, like it's real easy to to make that kind of mistake, and it's hard to find that.
Yeah, actually, now I remember what I was about to say. Like the one thing that I think they could improve about like this, like related to missing pieces, like recording in the results, like they had 1 or 2 pieces missing or whatever, and like that they have this penalty added, because now it doesn't tell you, or if there is some other like unusual condition that alter the results from the pure time. So
Yeah.
I think that would be nice to have that also there, like just stated, like.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And also to the fact that the error rate for the missing pieces is so low, considering how many pieces there are total and how many people there are, that's pretty wild, right? Like Michelle, you were saying there were maybe like 30 or 40 pieces. Was that from one round, or was that from multiple rounds?
That was after all individual rounds. So that's 6 times 180 puzzles times 500 pieces.
Right.
So maybe,
like
maybe it's not that much after all.
Yeah, like that's a surprisingly low edge case. But planning ahead and thinking about what sort of things you would do if you run into that is pretty important. And to be fair, the organizers did a really good job overall this past year. I don't think anybody would say like, oh, this was a terrible Worlds event or anything like that. They did a great job, and it was a lot to juggle. So very, before before Alfonso thinks that everything went bad, like it was really well run event. There's just always things to tweak.
Yeah, and I agree. And like my analysis is not to say that the rules at the moment are bad, but more about discussing about could they be even better, what's good, what is bad about the big picture, and so on. And also, I just wanted to also in my analysis, I basically started by saying this is not about the individuals. If someone benefited from the rule, then it's the rule. They benefited. It's not their fault that the rule is that way. So it's not something the individual did that would be like anyway wrong. The rules are just written that way. So
yeah. No, it's really cool, and I'm glad that the puzzle community is, folks like Eureka digging into that a little bit and shedding some light on things to figure out which way the sport wants to go and how they want to get there. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, Rika, for sharing some of your analysis with us. And yeah, for those who want to see all the stats that Rika prepared, she has them saved as a story highlight on her profile on Instagram, which is Rika_puzzles. So I did write that in the chat as well. And yeah, so thanks everyone. We've gone a bit over time. I forgot to turn the timer off, but there we go. 16 minutes.
Well, we can check how long I talked.
Oh, we're very late in multiple ways today, so we're sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm not sure if that's because also I noticed the screens froze a couple of times. I'm not sure if it's just because we had so many people in the meeting. We did have over 80 people in the meeting, apologies.
You're breaking the internet, Michelle.
It's
the number
crashing.
of puzzlers is breaking the internet.
Speed puzzling is crashing the internet. Yeah. So so thanks to those who were following along on the live stream and commenting. Really appreciate that. Any last comments, Daniela, from your side?
A pleasure as usual to be with you. Thank you very much. Helping as a virtual assistant, I think we are getting there. With to trying to serve people to don't miss their final. So apology if that happened a couple of times today, but we are getting better there.
Yeah, so we
Thank
have
you.
decided we have having 2 virtual assistants at the moment, just so we can split the number of whips, because as the competitions increase in the number of participants, it just makes it harder to manage. And yeah, actually, we didn't even get to introduce everyone in the meeting. We got to about S, and then the first finishers came. So sorry to those at the very end. We didn't have your little moment that we analyze your puzzling progress. But it always depends on the speed of the puzzle and who we have in the competition. All right, well, thanks everyone for being part of EJJ 31, and wish you a good evening. Thank you.
Congrats, everybody. Bye. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.